Odd Shop by Walter de la Mare. A silence, peculiar to itself, seemed to possess the little dark shop in the back street running up from the river, the silence, as it were, of intent listeners. It was suddenly shattered by the muffled ringing of a little verdigris bell hanging up in a corner, and a chance visitor, groping his way down its 2 wooden steps, at once perceived it, became indeed curiously aware of it, when the hospitable jangle had fallen into silence. Nothing happened during the 2 or 3 minutes short of 1 o'clock that followed, leaving practically nothing behind them except the sense of their moments of peace and quiet and vague mystery. He then ventured an apologetic rap on the wooden counter. A few moments afterwards, an old man quietly and carefully emitted himself through the glazed and curtained door of the shop parlour. He raised his chin and paused, having scrutinized, as far as his spectacles permitted, his visitor. "Good afternoon, sir," he said. "What may I have the pleasure of doing for you?" "Good afternoon," returned his visitor, who realized he had taken a sudden fancy to the old gentleman. "I'm sorry to trouble you, but as a matter of fact, I came to ask my way to the railway station. I am a stranger here. You haven't, I see, lit up yet, and I am rather wishing I had brought a torch with me. I have been peering and peering through your little square windows, but couldn't make out, not clearly, what is behind them. Are they cages? Extremely small, surely, for humming-birds, I should imagine. There is a thick mist rising." "Yes, sir. We lie close to the river here. Indeed, this street brings you to its Strand. I'm sorry you couldn't see in at the window, and glad that you didn't stumble on the 2 wooden steps. You said cages. In a sense, sir, you guessed rightly. Cages they are, and yet, well, not for birds. There is very little trade just now. In fact, you're my first visitor, I should say, today. By good fortune, I am not dependent on what I sell. By very good fortune, since what little business I used to do has been of late, well, sir, just washed out. It's as if the river itself had come flowing into the shop and swept me away. I have competitors, rich and powerful ones, and fashions change." "The whole world has changed in these last few years, including the sun. The general aim and scale. Might I look at one of these little cages?" "By all means, sir." "Thank you. What minute and exquisite workmanship. Charming. Is it of wood, ivory, metal, tortoise-shell? Empty, anyhow." "No, sir, not exactly empty. I choose color and material according to the kind. Put it to your ear, sir, if I may be so bold, and merely press your finger, very lightly, on the minute knob at the corner, and listen." "Remarkable! A sound like someone rasping on a rough surface with the fingernail, but shriller, more musical." "There's a good deal of rasping on rough surfaces nowadays, fingers scratching their way out. But no, what you hear is only the call, and possibly colloquy, of a house cricket. Less frequent than it used to be when the small country bakers' shops used to do their own bread baking, and the Sunday pies and legs of mutton. A strange, simple little sound. Though not so simple as it seems. It is a nocturnal hymn, a love call. Poets, musicians make love tunes, love songs. Most human beings talk their love. Another kind of tune, sir. The cricket apparently rubs his thighs together, and the noise sounds out small, rough, shrill, even sonorous, in the silence of midnight. I should explain, sir, that this is a sound shop. I deal, I mean, solely in sounds, but chiefly in minute sounds. Those little heeded, little listened to. Here is another, if you'll press the knob." "Thank you. I can guess this one. A small child tapping very softly with her knuckle at her doll's house door, I should think. Come in, come in, come in." "Not precisely, sir. That is the knocking of the death-watch beetle, another love call, or summons to its mate. with its head, sir, though as it happens it knocks elsewhere at times, at the listener's heart. No, I am not suggesting that these trifles of mine are of any particular use. They are intended, rather, for what delight they may give to the possessor. And this is not merely for what they are in themselves, but for the states of mind which at different times they may evoke. An air on a fiddle may at one moment have less than little influence on us, and at another may be almost unendurably pathetic and moving. You said just now that the cricket's chirrup was a simple sound. This beats even that. But why not so simple as it seems? I think those were the words you used. I mean, as I have said, sir, that it is not so much what a sound is in itself, or even what causes it, that matters, but its effects. What it does to the listener. The tapping of the beetle first reminded you of a solitary child in a nursery, knocking and knocking to be let in to its own imagination, to its own profound fancy of its own small world of the doll's house. When you knew it for what it actually was, I warrant you saw quite a different picture, sir, some definite tragic memory, perhaps, a pure superstition, of course. Each minute effect on the ear has evoked, one might almost say, a minute panorama, or an extensive one, for that matter, a complete, complicated little network of memories, perhaps. Isn't that so? That was what I had in mind. I have a little box here containing 3 successive chords of music, powerful and possibly pregnant ones, from an opera by Wagner, but I wager it won't awaken more effective or deeper memories than the beetle. It isn't merely size that counts, not just bare-faced, noisy magnitude. Gracious me, sir, this mist will soon be fog. Have you far to go? Now, sir, try this one. 2 compartments, you will notice. First, the little yellow knob. The customer takes the box and puts it to his ear. A stare of astonishment transfigures his face. Aha! I thought that might startle us a little. No mistaking that one, sir. My poor skull is fairly ringing. It sounds as if all the witches in hell were screaming to an obligato from the old father of lies himself, Belial, Beelzebub, and all the rest of them. No, sir, purely terrestrial. Merely a gale on the coast of Wales, near the great cathedral of St. David, sir. Wind, wave, foam, seabirds, shingle. A complex, but still a simple sound. We have very faint and slight notions, sir, of the lower regions, in spite of John Milton's help. I agree that a little closer listening might detect in the box the crash of some poor wretched bark and its inmates flung into the darkness of eternity on the starless rocks of night. But, now, sir, the other button, the green one. Lovely, like molten precious stones, as if you could turn dew into music. Water, of course, falling into, well, I wouldn't like to guess the depth of the well. An astonishing sense of solitude, too, as of some incredibly old garden. The mists of daybreak and the silence of morning before the song of the bird. Fascinating. Well, well, sir, you would hardly believe it, but I spent over a week, a very happy one, too, of 12-hour working days on that one specimen, and yet one wouldn't have to look very far to find the well you mention. It is not at the world's end. The sound itself is merely that of milk dripping drop by drop from a teaspoon into a teacup, completely domesticated. But how the mind roves! That's what I mean by simple, sir. Now, if you please, this. This needs particularly close attention. I hear nothing. Yes, I do. A remote rustling, as of a ghost, I should imagine, approaching some unfortunate listener, not a child, I hope, down a long corridor, like one who on a lonely road. No, sir, at least a league too far again. There is nothing less commonplace or more natural than the whisper an evening primrose makes when its petals, first gradually, then, as if its very being had so decided, unfurl in the cool of the evening, exposing their riches to the prowling moths. That one yonder needs perhaps a closer attention. If, I mean, we leave it as nature ordained. It enshrines the first stirrings of hoarfrost, its crystals gathering on a blade of grass. And these are the tiny brandishings of the antennae of a group of ants clustered in converse around their queen. But I am detaining you. Still, here, sir, I feel sure it will interest you, is what I should call, well, it is different from the rest, and it costs me many a laborious day. I won't mention names, sir, since it is a matter of extreme privacy. It cost a friend of mine his son. My friend refused what he wanted of him, and his son left him. The little black knob, if you please. Yes, I hear it. Very curious. Words. Stubborn, yet wavering. Tragic. He repeats what he hears in a low, cold, small, unfaltering voice. No, it can't be done. It can't be done. No, not even for him. It can't be done. Not even for him. It can't be done. I would not part from that one for love or money. Not that a sale is likely. As I say, I have few visitors even, quite apart from customers, nowadays. Who is talking in that last one? Some old Jezebel, I should think. Some fairy devil-mother. No, sir, it is many years old. It was the voice of conscience. And yet I am still a little uncertain that it wasn't the voice of what they call the ego, sir. The self far within us. I cannot say. As you see, there are many others. Quite common things, every one, even if not very familiar. But I mustn't keep you. Turn to the right as you leave this shop. Take the first turning on the left, the third on the right, and you will find the station in a cul-de-sac down the third turning yet again to your right. No, sir, I am not allowed to sell at this hour. The shutters should have been up an hour ago. Against the law, sir. I do little more now than open and shut by habit. But it would be a pleasure to me if you would kindly accept this, merely as a little remembrance of this evening. This one is the voice of advancing age, sir, hardly articulate. Yes, there is the knob. No, nothing. Yes, I detect a voice, but it's too far away, only a murmur, no distinguishable syllables. I fancied that might be the case. I myself am accustomed to it, and yet, well, it goes like this. He speaks in faint, yet clear and sorrowful tones. Snow, dust, motes of light, falling time ever falling. Remember, yes, remember. Oh, yes, remember, yes, remember. That's all very well, but I should have supposed, rather than remember, look ahead. Do you ever listen in? Bless you, sir, I am years behind the times, behind my times too. But yet I might say that I am always listening in, but not yet, please God, to what they call voices. Indeed, I have hardly a moment now to spare from a last little job which I fear I shall never finish, a night job too. I am endeavoring, quite between ourselves, if I may venture, to distinguish and to capture the music of the spheres. Very old-fashioned, the morning stars, but alas, with no success. Not yet. Thank you, sir. I haven't tied the string tightly, and perhaps it would be advisable to carry the little parcel, not to put it into the pocket. Good night, sir, and many thanks. He watches his visitor mount the narrow street and vanish into the thickening fog. No one, not even a cat, is otherwise in sight. The no one, indeed, might almost have been nothing, merely an old man's memory, after the muffled jangling of the shop bell had ceased.